The 1979 McDonald's All-American squad is widely regarded as one of the best teams in the game's history. This class produced several Hall of Famers, but that doesn't mean there weren't any missed players. The list of snubs includes two-time All-Star and 1983 Rookie of the Year Terry Cummings, 1982 NCAA rebounding leader and longtime pro Isiah Thomas, one-time NBA champ and standout defender Rodney McCray, jazz legend and Disney Channel original movie star Thurl Bailey, one-time All-Star and a deadly three-point sniper Dale Ellis, two-time All-Star Jeff Malone, and Nico's dad Pace Mannion, among many others. Also, before we get started, I just wanted to say I've really enjoyed seeing you all's comments in the last two videos. Please feel free to keep pointing out every time I'm wrong, and any more information about players you know more about, that only makes the videos better. Now, let's go ahead and get to it. Tim Andree. Statistically, Andree was mostly disappointing during his time at Notre Dame, though his junior year showed enough potential that the Bulls picked him with the 98th overall pick in the '83 draft. He didn't make the team, but did spend time playing overseas, including a 5-year stint playing for the Toyota Pacers. While there, he also worked in Toyota's sales office in Tokyo, and eventually worked his way up to the executive level at Toyota. Andree actually came back to basketball in 2002 when he became the league's senior vice president of communications. In 2006, he got back into the business world and has been there ever since. Sam Bowie. Most fans know Bowie's story by now. The high school star went to Kentucky for college and was an instant contributor. By his sophomore season, Bowie was dropping nearly 18 points, 9 boards, and 3 blocks a night. However, in a late season game against Vanderbilt, he injured his knee. Bowie would play through the injury during the NCAA tournament, but after the season, it was discovered he had a stress fracture in his left tibia. Because of that, he would miss the next 2 seasons. During his senior year, Bowie was solid, but not as productive statistically. Even still, the Trailblazers decided to take a risk and draft him second overall, 1 pick before Michael Jordan. Bowie was solid at first, but injuries quickly started to pile up. When on the court, Bowie often played well, but he could rarely put together a full season. Bowie would also spend time with the Nets and Lakers before retiring in '95. Since then, he's gotten into raising and racing horses. Jim Braddock. The young Tennessean would head to North Carolina after a great high school career. There, he'd room with another player I'll get to at the bottom of the list, and even win an NCAA tournament title. However, playing time was often limited, which isn't too surprising considering the squad around him. By his senior year, he was finally getting solid PT and averaged 9 points and 4 assists. He was then drafted 107th overall by the Nuggets in '83, but didn't make the team. He spent several years playing overseas before hanging up his sneakers. As of '92, he was coaching in Florida and has seemingly been running a basketball camp for the last several years. Tony Bruin. Bruin came out of Astoria, New York as one of the most highly recruited players in Syracuse history. In high school and college, he was known as a high flyer with a knuckleball-like outside shot that somehow worked for him. Red never quite lived up to his lofty expectations, though don't think that means he didn't have a solid collegiate career. The 6'5" forward averaged 12 points and 4 boards during his time at Syracuse, which led to him being drafted 162nd overall by the 76ers in 1983. He never played in the NBA and has seemingly been working for the Boys and Girls Club in South Carolina for the last few years. Antoine Carr. Carr was born in Oklahoma City but moved to Wichita, Kansas growing up. He decided to keep it local and head to Wichita State for college. There he played along future All-Star Xavier McDaniel, but Carr was the engine that made the team go. He never averaged below 15 points a night, culminating in nearly 23 points per game during his senior season. That led to him being selected 8th overall by the Pistons in the '83 draft. He and the team could not agree on his contract, so he'd play in Italy for 1 year before returning to the NBA to play with the Hawks. While never becoming an All-Star level player, Carr had an effective 16-year career, even averaging 20 points a night during the 90-91 season with the Spurs, and helping the Utah Jazz to back-to-back finals in the '90s. Since retiring in 2000, the Big Dog has kept in touch with his fans and former teams, and as of 2020, he owned a construction company in San Antonio. Quinton Dailey. Dailey was born in Baltimore but went to the University of San Francisco for college ball. Over his 3-year career, he averaged more than 20 points a night, dropping 25 points per game during his junior season. However, in 1982, he pled guilty to an attempted assault charge. During the investigation, Dailey admitted to accepting money for a job that he did not do from a USF donor. Partially because of this revelation, USF's basketball program was shut down for several years. Dailey would head to the '82 draft and was selected 7th overall by the Bulls. He dropped 15 points a night during his first season, making the all-rookie first team. The next year, he continued to improve, but his minutes would go down after the team drafted Michael Jordan. Dailey did play for 9 years, but was almost always an off-court distraction, violating the league's drug policy twice and missing several games. He spent one last season playing in the CBA in '92 before moving into a job with the Clark County Parks and Rec Department in Nevada. Dailey passed away in his sleep in 2010. Darren Daye. The MVP of the 1979 McDonald's All-American game would head to UCLA to play college ball. In team stuffed with future NBA talent, Daye sometimes struggled to start but was always productive in his minutes. During his senior year, Daye averaged 16 points and 6 boards, which helped get him drafted by the Bullets with the 57th pick in the '83 draft. He spent 5 years in the NBA, mostly off the bench. While Daye was never able to live up to his high school potential, he did spend several years playing overseas after leaving the NBA. As of 2010, he was working as a financial advisor, though many these days might know him as Austin Daye's father after the younger Daye won a title in 2014 with the Spurs. Terry Fair. Fair was born and raised in Macon, Georgia, so it's no surprise that the 6'8" forward went to Georgia for college. While another player on this list got most of the headlines for the Bulldogs, Fair did produce good numbers. In his freshman year, he averaged 14 points and 10 boards, but would never top those stats, though he did help the team get to the Final Four during his senior season. He was then selected 72nd overall by the Pacers in '83, but never played in the NBA. Instead, Fair played for 10 years in Israel, winning the Israeli League twice in the mid-90s. He then returned to Macon, where not much is known about him, at least from what I found. Sadly, Fair passed away in 2020. Sidney Green. The 6'9" Green would leave Brooklyn to join the UNLV Runnin' Rebels for college ball. He was an instant success, averaging more than 15 points a night over his 4-year career. Those numbers hit a crescendo during his senior season when he averaged 22 points and 12 boards and was named a consensus second-team All-American and Big West Player of the Year. He was then selected 5th overall by the Bulls in '83. Sid struggled to find playing time during his first 2 seasons, but started to emerge in '85-'86. He posted averages of 13.5 points and 8 boards while starting 68 games before being traded to Detroit. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to build on those numbers, though he remained a solid big during his limited minutes. Green retired after the '93 season and went to coaching, notably serving as the head coach at Florida Atlantic from '99 to 2005. He'd rejoin the Bulls and serve as a player developmental assistant and then community relations ambassador. Teddy Grubbs. Grubbs was born and raised in Chicago and was sometimes ranked as the best player in Illinois over Terry Cummings and Isiah Thomas. He'd head to DePaul to play college ball alongside Cummings and Mark Aguirre. Sadly, his career never took off despite solid contributions when he was given minutes. He would only spend 3 years playing college ball as he reportedly struggled with schizophrenia. Throughout the '80s, he had several run-ins with the law and was reportedly homeless for a time. Sadly, Grubbs passed away in 2023. Derrick Hord. Hord would head to Kentucky for college ball after making his name in Bristol, Tennessee. His first few seasons were a bit uneven, but he broke out as a junior, dropping 16 points and 5 boards to make the All-SEC team. His numbers went down slightly as a senior as the team added freshman Kenny Walker. He was then selected 67th overall by the Cavs in the '83 draft, but never played in the NBA. At some point, he made his way back to Kentucky and seemingly works as the director of community outreach for the school's Alzheimer Research Center. Clark Kellogg. These days, Special K is known for his on-air commentary with CBS, and that time he lost to Obama in a game of horse, but he was a dominant high school player who still holds the Ohio record for most points in a state championship final. After his prep career, Kellogg went to Ohio State, where he continued to improve, posting career averages of 15 points and 10 boards over his 3 years as a Buckeye. During his junior season, Kellogg played well enough to make the first-team All-Big Ten team and was drafted 8th overall by the Pacers in '82. He finished second in Rookie of the Year voting that year, averaging 20 points and 11 boards. Sadly, his numbers never improved as chronic knee injuries impacted his game until he retired after the '87 season and started his broadcasting career. Greg Kite. While Kite was recruited by nearly every blue blood program out there, he decided to head to BYU for college. In his first season, his minutes were limited, but as a sophomore, he had a major uptick in production. While never able to truly build on those numbers, he did stay consistent, averaging around 8 points, 8 boards, and more than 2 blocks per game for his final 3 years. That defensive production led to him being selected 21st overall by the Celtics in '83. Kite never progressed beyond being a bench player during his 12-year career, but he did win 2 titles with Boston. He played a few seasons in the CBA before retiring in '96. Nowadays, he seems to spend his time in Florida as a financial advisor. Sidney Lowe. Lowe went to NC State to play college ball and was the point guard when the team won the 1983 national championship in a stunning upset. He also made back-to-back All-ACC teams to end his collegiate career. Then, he was drafted 25th overall by the Bulls in '83, but was immediately traded to the Pacers. Lowe played for a few more years in the NBA before moving to the CBA. He became a CBA All-Star in 1988 and led the league in steals. That defense would get him one last run in the NBA with the Timberwolves in the '80s. Lowe retired after the season and immediately hopped into coaching. Over the next 30-plus years, Lowe has coached all over the map, including stints as the head coach for the Timberwolves, Grizzlies, and NC State. Currently, he works as an assistant coach with the Cavs. Raymond McCoy. In high school, McCoy was often seen as up there with Isiah Thomas in terms of young point guards. McCoy originally went to the University of San Francisco but left for DePaul after one season. One of the major reasons for the change was the issues USF was having, with McCoy later confirming that he had been taking money under the table while with the school. While with DePaul, he was never able to capitalize on his potential, averaging just 1 point and 1 assist a night for his career. I've been unable to find much information on him after that, though a 1993 article in the Chicago Tribune says he was coaching 8th grade basketball at Washington Junior High. It's possible he's still there, but I have not been able to confirm it. Dirk Minniefield. Minniefield had a troubled childhood. The Lexington, Kentucky native started experimenting with drugs at 14 and had 3 kids by the time he graduated high school. Those drug problems followed him to Kentucky, but he was still a solid player for the Wildcats, averaging nearly 10 points and 6 assists in game he started. He also had one of the best dunks in UK history during the 83 season. Minniefield was drafted 33rd overall by the Mavs after that season, but didn't play for the team. He spent 2 years in the CBA before making the Cavs roster in 85. He'd play a few seasons in the league, but his drug use kept him from ever taking that next step to regular starter. After retiring, he spent a year in jail and went through a divorce. Fortunately, he made his way to the John Lucas Drug Abuse Center in Houston and has stayed sober since the early 90s. Since then, he spent time working various jobs around the game, most recently as a drug counselor for the NBA. Horace Owens. Owens was born in Philly but went to Rhode Island for college ball. There, he was a double-digit scorer all 4 years, culminating with a senior season that saw him average 22 points and 7 boards a night. Owens was drafted 44th overall by the Nets in 83, but never played in the NBA. For the next decade plus, Owens worked as a juvenile probation officer in Philly. Then, in 2004, he rejoined the game and served as an assistant coach for LaSalle for 14 years. He then moved into a similar role with Delaware State in 2021, a role he still holds today. John Paxson. Paxson followed behind his older brother Jim as a star player for Archbishop Alter in Ohio. He decided to head to Notre Dame for college ball, where he made back-to-back All-American squads in 82 and 83. Under coach Digger Phelps, he grew into a deadly scorer and was drafted 18th overall by the Spurs in 83. Playing time was tough to come by during his first 2 years, but he signed with the Bulls in 85 to form a backcourt duo with Michael Jordan. Obviously, MJ and Scottie Pippen got most of the publicity, but Paxson's sharp shooting and clutch play helped the Bulls win their first three-peat. His championship-winning shot in the 93 finals against Phoenix is one of the great moments of those Bulls teams. After retiring in 94, he joined Phil Jackson's staff as a Bulls assistant, but resigned shortly after to get into commentary. In 2003, he became the general manager for the Bulls. He was taking a leadership spot with the Bulls until 2020, when he became their senior advisor of basketball operations. Ricky Ross. Ross started his career at Kansas and played well, averaging 12 points a night as a freshman. However, he and another student were caught stealing an assistant coach's credit card to make cross-country calls. He would then bop around to several smaller schools, including a stint at the College of Marin, where he dropped 30 points a night before getting his grades in order and joining Tulsa. In 82, he went toe-to-toe with Michael Jordan's UNC Tar Heels and dropped 20 points in a stunning 10-point victory. He continued to pour in buckets, averaging 17 points and 6 assists as a senior. He was selected 53rd overall by the Bullets in the 84 draft, but never played in the NBA. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to find much about him after that. Ralph Sampson. Sampson was a monster in high school, averaging nearly 30 points, 19 boards, and 7 blocks as a senior in Virginia, though he did lose that year's Player of the Year award to Sam Bowie. Sampson would head to Virginia for college ball and continued to destroy the competition. He was a 3-time National Player of the Year, 3-time First-Team All-American, 3-time ACC Player of the Year, and 1 ACC Rookie of the Year after blocking more than 4 shots a night as a freshman. He is just the second player to win 3 Naismith Awards, joining Bill Walton in that rare club. Sampson was then selected first overall by the Rockets in the 83 draft and seemed poised to revolutionize the center position. Early on, things looked like they were trending in that direction, as Sampson averaged 21 points and 11 boards, made the All-Star team, and was named Rookie of the Year. He would continue to progress in year 2 after the team drafted Hakeem Olajuwon, making 3 more All-Star teams and helping the team to the 86 NBA Finals, where they lose to the Celtics. However, injuries started to pile up, and after rushing back for the 87 playoffs, Sampson was traded to the Warriors. Sampson hung around until 92, but was never the same dominant force he'd been early in his career due to persistent injuries. He spent some time coaching at various points over the next several years and was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2012. Byron Scott. Scott was nearly an instant star when he stepped on the Arizona State campus. He was named Pac-10 Freshman of the Year after averaging nearly 14 points in his first season. By year 3, Lord Byron was up to nearly 22 points and made the All-Pac-10 first team. He was then selected 4th overall by the Clippers in the 83 draft and was immediately traded to the Lakers for Norm Nixon. Throughout the 80s and early 90s, he was a key cog for LA, pouring in buckets as a member of the Showtime Lakers. While not winning any individual awards after his freshman season, he did win 3 titles with the Lakers as their primary shooting guard. After the 93 season, he'd bop around a few more years before moving to Greece in 97, where he made the Greece All-Star team and won the league's championship. After he retired, Scott jumped into coaching, most notably leading the Nets to back-to-back NBA Finals in 2002 and 2003. Scott's last coaching job ended in 2015 when the Lakers decided to move on after the team missed the playoffs for the second year in a row under Lord Byron. Steve Stipanovich. Stipa was ranked alongside Bowie and Sampson as the top centers in their high school class. The young big decided to head to Missouri for college and was named the Big 8 Newcomer of the Year as a freshman after averaging 14 points and 6 boards. His game continued to progress, and by his senior season, Stipa was dropping 18 and 9 a night. He was named the Big 8 Co-Player of the Year alongside freshman Wayman Tisdale and made the All-American squad. Stipa was then drafted second overall by the Pacers in the 83 draft and averaged 12 points and 7 boards as a rookie. Interestingly, he was joined by Tisdale in 85, uniting the former conference foes. Sadly, Stipa's career was finished after just 5 relatively productive years because of a degenerative knee condition. After retiring, he worked in real estate before moving to St. Louis to become the owner-operator of a coal mine and coached the girls' basketball team at Westminster Academy. Isiah Thomas. Zeke was widely regarded as one of the best prospects in his class. While many people in his native Chicago hoped he'd go to DePaul, including one of his other brothers, Zeke's mom would ultimately talk him into joining Bobby Knight in Indiana. While it took time to adjust to Knight's coaching style, Zeke quickly became a star. During his 2 years in college, Thomas averaged 15 points, 6 assists, and 2 steals a night. In his sophomore season, he led the Hoosiers to the NCAA title. After accomplishing just about everything he wanted to, Thompson went to the NBA where the Pistons selected him second overall in 81. He was an instant star, even earning MVP votes as a rookie. During his long career in Detroit, Zeke was a 12-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA selection, and 2-time champion. He retired after the 94 season after tearing his Achilles and easily slid into the business world, a move he'd been preparing for years. Eventually, he'd make his way into coaching, serving as the Pacers head coach in the early aughts and then spending 2 years with the Knicks. He also coached for 3 years in the college ranks. No matter how you slice it, Zeke has been staying busy since hanging him up. Thomas was elected to the Hall of Fame in 2000. Derrick Whittenburg. Whittenburg played with Sidney Lowe in high school, so it was no surprise when he also joined him at NC State. However, it's worth noting that it was Whittenburg's cousin David Thompson who won a title with NC State in 1974. Either way, Whittenburg became a stud for Coach Valvano, averaging nearly 18 points as a senior. That year, the Wolfpack picked up a shocking national title win after Lorenzo Charles put back a Whittenburg miss at the last second, and Whittenburg was then drafted 51st overall by the Suns in the 83 draft, but he never played in the NBA. Instead, he jumped into coaching in 1985 and held various positions until 2015 when he became the Associate AD at NC State, a position he still holds today. Dominque Wilkins. Wilkins is the Georgia Bulldog I teased earlier. The high flyer from France moved with his family to North Carolina, where he dominated the high school circuit. That didn't change much when he got to Athens, as the human highlight film averaged 22 points and 7 boards across his 3-year career. Wilkins was then drafted 3rd overall by the Jazz in the 82 draft, but he refused to play in Utah, so the team traded him to the Hawks. Neek quickly became a star in Atlanta, only averaging under 20 points a night during his rookie season. During the 86 season, Neek dropped 30 a night, cementing his spot as one of the best players in the league. Neek would go on to become a 9-time All-Star, 7-time All-NBA selection, 2-time Slam Dunk Contest champ, and 1-time scoring champ. He also spent a few years playing overseas during the 90s, where he racked up even more awards. He'd retire after 1999 and has worked in several roles with the Hawks in the years since. Wilkins was elected to the Hall of Fame in 2006. James Worthy. Big Game James was a stud in North Carolina high school circuit, and he decided to keep it local and signed with the UNC Tar Heels for college ball. From the jump, he was a stud, but a broken ankle held him to just 14 games. As a sophomore, he led the team to the national title, where they lost to Isiah Thomas's Indiana Hoosiers. The next year, he would not be denied. Alongside a young freshman named Michael Jordan, Worthy took the team back to the national title game, where they bested Patrick Ewing's Georgetown Hoyas. Worthy was then made the #1 pick by the Lakers in the 1982 draft. You might expect it would take some time for Worthy to find his place in the star-studded roster, but he thrived with the Showtime Lakers. An injury kept him from realistically challenging for Rookie of the Year, but it was clear Worthy was going to be an all-timer. He played his entire career in LA and was a 7-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA selection, and 3-time champion. However, he compiled several injuries over the years, and his play started to fall off in the 90s before he retired in 94. That said, his knack for hitting big shots in the playoffs makes him one of the greatest players in NBA history. After retiring, he'd spend some time in broadcasting and try his hand at acting. Then, in 2015, he joined the Lakers coaching staff. He appears to largely be back in broadcasting. Worthy was elected to the Hall of Fame in 2003.